Make sure to like this video and hit that subscribe button right now to see much more content just like this.
The first penny hit the wooden counter with a sharp little ping. Then another. Then another. Travis Mercer kept dropping them one at a time while everyone inside Fletcher's Feed and Farm Supply watched. 10 pennies in all. He looked across the counter at Evelyn Brooks, then pushed the coins toward her with 2 fingers. There, 10 cents. More than that strip of swamp is worth. Evelyn did not move. Travis leaned closer. You've wasted enough of my time. Take these pennies and leave. The store went silent. Evelyn looked down at the coins, then back at the wealthy rancher who had spent 3 months trying to force her into selling 12 acres of her family's land. She slid the pennies back across the counter. Then find your own water. Travis laughed. It was the kind of laugh a man gives when he believes he has already won. 3 days later, he stopped laughing. The cattle pond beside Mercer Ranch's south pasture dropped nearly 18 inches. By the following morning, 2 more ponds were shrinking. A pump that had supplied watering troughs for years began sucking air. And beneath a ridge on Travis Mercer's 6,000-acre ranch, water started moving through a place where no water was supposed to exist. By the end of that week, investigators would uncover evidence that a creek had been secretly diverted and buried nearly 30 years earlier. Before the truth was finished surfacing, homes would be evacuated, cattle would be swept away, and a tropical storm would force Evelyn to risk her own life to save people who had helped hide what happened to her family's land. But standing inside Fletcher's that morning, Travis Mercer knew none of that. He only knew that Evelyn Brooks had refused his offer again, and he still believed 12 muddy acres made her powerless. Evelyn folded the survey map in front of her. She was 55 years old, 5 feet 7. With gray threaded through the braids, pulled back at the nape of her neck. Mud clung to the heels of her work boots, and the faded canvas jacket she wore had belonged to her late husband, Samuel. Sheriff Dale Harlan stood beside the refrigerator case, holding a coffee he had forgotten to drink. 2 cattlemen near the mineral blocks stared at Travis. Even the teenage cashier seemed unsure where to look. Travis tapped 1 finger against the counter. You done? Evelyn tucked the survey under her arm. I was done the second you decided humiliation was cheaper than negotiation. His jaw tightened. You've got 12 acres of wet ground I need for a road. Then you should have treated the person who owns it like somebody you needed. I offered you $25,000 for something you keep telling me is worthless. It is worthless without my project. Evelyn looked at him for another second. That's what worries you about people like me, Travis. His expression changed. People like you. People who know the difference between what something costs and what it's worth. She turned and walked out. No one followed her. Outside, the Georgia sky had gone dark enough to make morning feel like evening. Thunder rolled somewhere beyond the pecan groves. Evelyn crossed the gravel parking lot toward the old Ford F-150 that had belonged to Samuel. She had almost reached it when the feed store door opened behind her. Evelyn. Sheriff. Harlan came outside. She stopped. He glanced back toward the store. You want me to say I saw what happened? If I need a witness, I'll ask. Travis shouldn't have done that. No. Dale shifted his coffee between his hands. What did you mean about the water? Evelyn looked west, toward land no one could see from Fletcher's. Exactly what I said. Then she climbed into the truck. She drove east out of Bellwether beneath a sky the color of bruised steel. The road narrowed after the last gas station, winding through cattle pasture, pine stands, and old pecan orchards that had survived hurricanes, droughts, bankruptcies, and generations of people promising they would someday sell. Samuel's truck rattled above 50 miles an hour. The air conditioner worked when it wanted to. The driver's window shook in its frame, and the cup holder still carried a crescent-shaped burn from the afternoon Samuel had dropped a soldering iron while repairing fencing controls inside the cab. Evelyn had never repaired it. Some things felt wrong to fix. She turned onto County Road 44. A white-painted sign appeared beyond the ditch. Mercer Cattle and Sporting Lands. Travis Mercer owned nearly 6,000 acres now. When Evelyn was a girl, his family had owned less than half of that. Her father used to say wealthy landowners grew like kudzu, slow enough that nobody noticed. Then suddenly, they were everywhere. Evelyn owned 73 acres, pasture, pecan trees, a weathered red barn, a 2-bedroom farmhouse Samuel had expanded 1 room at a time. And along the western boundary, 12 low acres locals called Miller's Cut. That was the land Travis wanted. Not because the soil was valuable, because it connected the southern section of Mercer Ranch to County Road 44. Travis planned to build an upscale hunting lodge on his property. Without Miller's Cut, guests coming from Atlanta would have to drive almost 11 extra miles around the ranch. With it, Travis could build a straight access road. His first offer had been $14,000. Evelyn refused, then $20,000. She refused, then $25,000. Again, no. That morning, she had gone to Fletcher's because Travis's attorney had sent her a letter claiming Mercer Ranch already possessed an old access right across Miller's Cut. Evelyn brought the county survey showing otherwise. Travis brought Pennies. But the road dispute was only one reason she had refused to sell. The other reason was blue. A thin blue line drawn across an old survey map 19 years earlier. Miller Creek. Evelyn herself had mapped it when she worked for the county. Back then, the creek entered the Mercer property from the northwest, crossed beneath an old timber bridge, ran through Miller's Cut, then continued south toward the little Oshlockney River. It was not a large creek, but it was permanent, or had been. Around 1999, the flow weakened. By 2005, most locals considered it seasonal. By 2012, long sections had disappeared beneath grass, roots, and young sweet gum trees. People said drought had changed it. Evelyn's husband never believed that. Samuel spent years telling her something upstream was wrong. Water did not simply disappear from a watershed without going somewhere. Evelyn believed him. But at the time, life had been crowded with practical emergencies. Her county job, Samuel's contracting business, her mother's dementia, bills, storm repairs, church, family. Then Samuel developed pancreatic cancer. He died 11 months after the diagnosis. 4 years had passed since then. And Evelyn had avoided Miller Creek because too much of Samuel seemed attached to the question. Until Travis Mercer wanted Miller's Cut badly enough to threaten her over it. Now she wanted to know why. When Evelyn pulled into her driveway, her brother-in-law was underneath the equipment shed looking at a broken hay rake. Calvin Brooks straightened when her truck stopped. Samuel's younger brother was 61, narrow as fence wire, with hands permanently stained by machinery grease. He looked at her face. How bad? You heard? Bellwether has 6 streets and a church. News travels. Evelyn walked toward the barn. He threw pennies at me. Calvin stopped. Pennies? 10. I always knew Travis Mercer was an ass. Didn't know he was cheap. Evelyn almost smiled. Calvin followed her inside. What did you say? She placed the folded survey map on Samuel's old workbench. I told him to find his own water. Calvin stopped smiling. Unlike everyone at Fletcher's, he understood immediately. You think it's still happening? I think that creek should be running. That ain't the same thing. No. Evelyn opened a steel cabinet and pulled out an old county map. She spread it across the bench. A blue line crossed Mercer land. There. Calvin leaned closer. Miller Creek? Permanent flow when I surveyed it. And now? Now the water's somewhere else? Calvin looked toward the barn doors. Thunder rolled again. You think Mercer diverted it? I think somebody did. You want me to call Leonard? No. Leonard Pike had worked for the Mercer family for more than 30 years. Once, he and Samuel had been friends. Then something happened between them that neither man ever explained. Calvin frowned. Why not? Because I don't know who knows what. Rain began ticking against the metal roof. Evelyn rolled the map. I'm going upstream tomorrow. Want company? No. Evelyn. I surveyed half this county before Travis learned which end of a fence post went in the ground. That doesn't make Mercer property public. I'm not crossing his boundary. Calvin studied her, then sighed. You know Travis ain't his daddy. No. Might not know whatever Warren did. Evelyn slid the map back into the cabinet. Then tomorrow might be educational. Rain came hard during the night. By sunrise, the ditches along County Road 44 were running brown. Evelyn parked beside a county culvert half a mile north of Miller's Cut and entered the woods along the public right-of-way. The air smelled of wet pine and red clay. She found the old creek bed 20 minutes later. It was nearly 10 feet wide in places. Recent rainfall had filled shallow depressions between exposed roots. But there was no current. Evelyn stood in the middle of the channel. Nearly 3 inches of rain had fallen overnight. Miller Creek should have been moving. It was not. She followed the dry channel north. At the boundary separating Mercer Ranch from an abandoned timber parcel, an old road crossed above a rusted culvert. Evelyn crouched. The soil around the embankment looked wrong. Different vegetation, different compaction, younger. She walked farther west, then stopped. Water. She can hear it. Not in the creek, somewhere behind blackberry vines to her right. Evelyn pushed through. A drainage ditch appeared beyond them. Artificial. Deep. Brown water moved rapidly through it toward Mercer Ranch. Fresh excavator teeth were still visible in the clay. Someone had been digging there recently, but that did not explain why Miller Creek had vanished decades earlier. Evelyn followed the ditch without crossing the fence. 30 yards farther north, half hidden beneath brush, stood an old concrete structure. She scraped away moss. Numbers appeared. 1998. Her pulse quickened. Samuel had always said the creek began changing around that year. Evelyn photographed the structure, measured it, recorded its location. Then she heard an engine. A side-by-side approached along the Mercer Ranch Road. The driver stopped 20 yards away. A tall man with white hair climbed out. His faded cap carried the Mercer logo. Leonard Pike. Morning, Evelyn. Leonard. His eyes went to the concrete structure, then back to her. You ought not be here. I'm not on Mercer property. You're close. So are you. Rainwater dripped from his cap. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Leonard said quietly, You looking for something Samuel left? Evelyn felt every muscle in her body tighten. "What did you say?" Leonard looked away. "Nothing." "No, say it again." He gripped the side-by-side door. "Go home." "Did Samuel come here?" Leonard's jaw tightened. "Long time ago." "How long?" "Doesn't matter." "It matters to me." Leonard climbed back inside. Evelyn moved closer to the fence. "Leonard," he started the engine. "Tell Travis not to dig anything else near this creek." Leonard stopped. For one strange moment, fear passed across his face. Then he looked directly at Evelyn. He already did, and drove away. Evelyn remained beside the fence until the sound of the side-by-side disappeared. Then she turned back to the concrete box. A sealed culvert, a diverted ditch, fresh excavation. And Leonard Pike frightened enough to tell her Travis was digging. Whatever Samuel had discovered was no longer buried only in the past. Something was happening now. By 10:30, Evelyn was in the basement of the Talbot County Records building. The courthouse upstairs had been renovated twice since she left county employment, but the basement still smelled the same. Dust, old paper, mildew, coffee that should have been thrown out before Evelyn retired. Megan Ellis, the records clerk, rolled a metal cart toward her. "You know you're ruining my peaceful morning." "Thought you liked excitement." "I do, just preferably the kind involving somebody else." Evelyn smiled. Megan was 32 and had the speed of someone who grew up believing all information should appear instantly on a screen. Unfortunately, most of Bellwether's important history lived in cardboard. "You asked for Mercer Agricultural Holdings, 95 through 2005? "Yes." "Drainage permits?" "All of them." Megan tapped one box. "Have fun." Evelyn pulled on reading glasses. For the next 2 hours, she worked through farm pond permits, timber crossing approvals, agricultural wells, fencing applications, and culvert repairs. Then she found it. May 1998. Agricultural drainage improvement. Applicant, Mercer Agricultural Holdings. Owner, Warren Mercer. Travis's father. Project description, stabilization and drainage improvements, Northeast pasture. Attached was a hand-drawn sketch. A blue pencil line represented Miller Creek. A proposed berm crossed it. Evelyn leaned closer. Megan appeared over her shoulder. "That's supposed to cross the stream?" "Yes." "Wouldn't that need more approval?" "Probably." "State?" "Depending on what they changed." Evelyn flipped the page. Inspection incomplete due to weather. No follow-up documentation. No engineering report. No state authorization attached. Nothing showing the project had ever been formally closed. "What happens if they built it anyway?" Megan asked. "That depends on what they built." Evelyn turned another page. A floodplain reclassification request from 2001. Several low-lying Mercer parcels had been reclassified from flood-prone pasture to improved agricultural ground. The values increased. Development restrictions eased. The creek had already weakened by then. Evelyn stared at the dates. First, change the water. Then change what the map said the land was. Megan leaned against the table. "You think Warren Mercer dried the creek?" "I think he moved it." "Why?" "Water." "That's not an answer." "For a cattleman, it usually is." Evelyn copied everything. On the way home, she stopped at the old workshop behind the farmhouse. She had avoided it for 4 years. Samuel's tools still hung where he left them. His carpenter pencils sat beside the vise. A Braves cap hung from a nail. 2 coffee cans held bolts sorted by size. And his favorite mug sat upside down near the sink. World's okayest husband. She had bought it as a joke. He used it every day afterward, mostly because irritating her amused him. Evelyn stood in the doorway. Grief did not always arrive as pain. Sometimes it arrived as architecture. A room, a chair, a mug, a shape where someone had once been. She forced herself inside. If Samuel had kept evidence, where would he hide it? Not in a proper file. That would have been too easy. Samuel's version of organization depended entirely on him being alive to explain it. She searched drawers, cabinets, old electrical boxes, tool cases, cigar boxes full of receipts, nothing. Then she remembered Leonard's exact words. Something Samuel left, not found, not new. Left. She stepped back. Samuel had replaced one wall panel near the breaker box years before he got sick. At least she thought he had. The grain did not quite match. Evelyn found a flat screwdriver and pried at the edge. The panel came loose. Behind it sat a clear freezer bag. Her breath caught. Inside were photographs. Dozens. Miller Creek in 1998. Water flowing wide and clear. Excavators. A bulldozer. A temporary dirt dam. Men standing beside large concrete pipes. One photograph showed Warren Mercer. Another showed Leonard Pike. Another showed Samuel across the creek, pointing angrily toward a machine outside the frame. Evelyn turned it over. October 17th, 1998. They're closing the channel. Another photograph. November 2nd. Flow redirected north. Another. Dead fish stranded in shallow water. November 12th. Then she found the one that made her sit down. A huge corrugated pipe entered the new berm. Water disappeared inside it. Samuel had written on the back, not drainage, diversion. There was something else in the bag. A cassette tape. On the label, Leonard, 2004. Evelyn closed her eyes. For 1 second, she could see Samuel writing those letters in black marker. Calvin arrived 20 minutes later carrying a cassette player he used in his garage. You find that behind the wall? Yes. Sam hid stuff from everybody. He called it organization. He was wrong. They inserted the cassette. Static filled the room. Then Samuel's voice came through. You comfortable? Evelyn's hand tightened around the edge of the workbench. 4 years dead, and suddenly Samuel sounded like he was standing behind her. Leonard answered. No. Good. Tell me again when Mercer put in the bypass. October 98? Whose idea? Warren's. What was he trying to do? Keep the lower pasture dry, fill the north reservoir, improve grazing. Did he have approval? Silence. Leonard? No. Calvin slowly sat down. Samuel continued. And the pipe? It runs under the ridge. To where? The reservoir. What reservoir? You know which. I want you to say it. I already told you too much. Why are you telling me anything? Long static. Then Leonard spoke again. Because something ain't right. What? The ground's moving. Where? South Embankment. That's above Miller's Cut. I know. You tell Warren? Yes. And? He said reinforce it. With what? More fill. Samuel swore. Then the tape cut out. Calvin stared at the player. Ground moving? Evelyn replayed it. Same words, same fear in Leonard's voice. She unfolded a current topographic map. Mercer's reservoir sat roughly 2 miles north of Miller's Cut. The official maps showed no connection between it and Miller Creek. But if Samuel was right, the creek had been diverted underground, buried beneath an embankment, carried to the reservoir, and something beneath that ground had already been unstable 22 years ago. Evelyn called Marcus Reed. He answered with, "If this is about a property line, send me a picture." It's not. Silence. You sound serious. I am. Marcus was a civil engineer in Albany who specialized in agricultural drainage and small dam systems. He and Evelyn had worked together on county projects years earlier. "I need you here." "When?" "Today." "Evelyn, I found a buried creek." Another silence. "I'll bring boots." Marcus arrived before sunset. By then the rain had stopped, leaving the air thick and warm. They stood near the county boundary while Evelyn showed him the photographs, the old survey, and the sealed concrete structure. Marcus studied the elevations, then again, then a third time. "You sure about this measurement?" "Yes." "The reservoir sits higher than this?" "Considerably." He opened a topographic map on his tablet. His finger traced the ridge. "If the buried line runs where Samuel marked it, it's carrying creek water into a storage area above your property." "Which explains the missing flow." "Maybe." "What doesn't it explain?" "Why Leonard said the ground was moving." They walked along the public side of the boundary. Marcus stopped near a depression covered in brush. "See that?" "Yes." "Subsidence." "You sure?" "No. Could be old equipment damage. Could be natural settling." "You're cheerful." "I'm an engineer. Cheerfulness is how people die." Evelyn gave him a look. Marcus continued. "If an underground pipe or culvert is leaking inside a filled embankment, soil can migrate with the water. You get internal erosion, voids, sinkholes. And if enough soil moves, the structure can fail." Evelyn looked toward the distant ranch. "How much water are we talking?" "Depends on reservoir size." 40 acres, maybe more." Marcus stopped. "Officially?" "Officially smaller." He stared at her. "Has it been expanded?" "Looks that way from aerial photos." "Then we need access." "Travis won't give it." "Then call the county." She did. County Emergency Manager Doug Haney listened carefully, then asked the practical questions. "Active flooding?" "No." "Visible dam breach?" "No." "Confirmed uncontrolled release?" "No." "Documented current failure?" "No." "I can get someone out there," Doug said. "When?" "Could be several days. A tropical system is forming in the Gulf." "I know." "Forecast says South Georgia could get heavy rain." "I know." "So several days isn't good." "Evelyn, I can't evacuate people because of a 30-year-old photograph." "I'm not asking you to evacuate. I'm asking you to inspect. And I'm telling you I'll get somebody there." "When?" "I'll call you." He did not. The next day, Mercer cattle began moving out of the southern pastures. Evelyn counted 5 livestock trailers before noon. By 2, there had been 8. Calvin watched from the county road beside her. Could be routine. It isn't. "You know his schedule now?" "I know cattle don't get moved 600 head at once unless somebody has a reason." Calvin squinted toward a distant truck. Maybe Leonard told him, or Travis already knew. A gray SUV pulled onto the shoulder behind them. A woman climbed out. Late 20s, brown hair pulled into a ponytail, Mercer ranch vest. Evelyn recognized her. Clara Mercer, Travis's daughter. "I'm not here to argue," Clara said. "That already makes you different from your father." Clara looked uncomfortable. "My dad doesn't know I'm here." Second improvement. Calvin coughed into his hand. Clara looked toward the trailers. "You asked him about the ponds." "Yes. They're dropping." "How much?" South Pond lost almost 2 feet. Reservoir? He won't tell me. You manage operations there. I handle breeding and livestock health. Dad handles water and land. Why? Because he handles anything he doesn't want questioned. Evelyn understood. What happened before the pond started dropping? Clara hesitated. Contractors dug near the lower ridge. What kind of contractors? Excavation. For what? Dad said drainage maintenance. Evelyn looked at Calvin. Where? Clara pointed northwest, exactly where Marcus had traced the buried diversion. Did Leonard know? Yes. What did he say? Nothing. But I've known Leonard my whole life. I've never seen him scared like that. Evelyn opened her truck and removed Samuel's photograph, the one showing the pipe. She handed it to Clara. What is this? Clara asked. Your grandfather's drainage maintenance. Clara studied it. Where was this taken? Upstream from Miller's Cut? She turned it over. 1998, not drainage, diversion. Clara looked up. Our reservoir is spring-fed. Who told you? My dad. And who told him? Clara did not answer. An engine roared down the county road. Travis Mercer's Silverado swung onto the shoulder. He was out before the dust settled. Clara? His daughter stood her ground. I can explain. Get in your car. I'm not 16. Then stop acting like it. Evelyn stepped between them just enough to change the angle. She came to ask questions. Travis's anger shifted. You stay out of this. You drove to my road. You're showing her private ranch material. It's Samuel's photograph. What photograph? Clara handed it to him. He looked at the image. For less than a second, Evelyn saw recognition. Then the mask returned. You've got more of these? Evelyn ignored the question. Your father diverted Miller Creek. You don't know what that shows. Then tell me. Drainage. To where? Travis said nothing. Reservoir losing water? Evelyn asked. His eyes narrowed. Clara looked at him. Dad? Travis gave the photograph back. You've been trespassing? No. You've been interfering with ranch operations? No. Then stay away. Evelyn stepped closer. If you opened that old diversion corridor and found water inside the berm, you need to report it. Travis's face changed. Just enough. Clara saw it. What did she mean? Nothing. Dad, get in your car. What happened at the berm? Maintenance. What kind? Travis looked at Evelyn. This is exactly what Samuel used to do. Her voice dropped. What did Samuel used to do? Act like every problem on my father's ranch belonged to him. Maybe because some of those problems flowed onto ours. Travis pointed toward Miller's Cut. You want to know what your problem is? You think working for the county 20 years ago makes you the keeper of every ditch in Talbot County? No. Evelyn held his gaze. I think owning 6,000 acres made your family forget water doesn't read property deeds. For the first time, Travis had no immediate answer. He turned to Clara. Come home. She did not move. He left alone. That evening, weather reports changed. The tropical disturbance in the Gulf strengthened into Tropical Storm Iris. Forecast models shifted east. Bellwether could see 4 to 6 inches of rain, some areas possibly 8. Evelyn sat at her kitchen table staring at the radar when the phone rang at 2:14 in the morning. Leonard Pike. Evelyn? You found the tape? Not a question. Yes. I lied. She sat up. What about? Not the diversion. Then what? The ground. What about it? It wasn't just moving. Evelyn reached for a pen. What was happening? Sinkholes. Her hand stopped. How many? 3. When? 2004. Where? South Embankment, close to where the buried channel runs. Why didn't you report it? I told Warren. That's not reporting. You don't understand. Then explain. Leonard's breathing was heavy. Warren Mercer was drowning in debt. Lots of people are. He was about to lose the ranch. So he took a creek. He thought increasing water would increase grazing capacity. More cattle, more revenue. He stole from everyone downstream. I know that now. You knew it then. Leonard went silent. Evelyn pressed. Why did you help him? My son. She stopped. Leonard's only son, Ben, had died in 2007. People in Bellwether remembered the car wreck. What most did not remember was what came before. Ben had leukemia, Leonard said. I remember. Treatment was bankrupting us. Warren paid. How much? Enough. And that bought your silence. Leonard's voice cracked. It bought my boy 3 more years. Evelyn closed her eyes. Anger remained, but grief entered beside it. Human beings rarely committed their worst failures for simple reasons. That doesn't make what you did right. I know. Why call tonight? Travis opened the inspection trench. When? Yesterday. What did he find? Water. Inside the berm? Yes. How much? More than should be. There. Evelyn stood. Does Travis understand? He does now. Has he notified anyone? No. Why not? He thinks we can relieve pressure into the south ditch. Evelyn felt cold. The south ditch leads toward Miller's Cut. Yes. Toward my house. I know. You know? I told him. And? He said we can control it. In a tropical storm? Leonard said nothing. Called Doug Haney. I already did. She paused. When? 10 minutes ago. What did he say? He's coming at daylight. That may not be enough. Evelyn, what? Samuel knew why I stayed quiet. I don't care. You might. No, I understand it. That's different. Leonard breathed out. Samuel forgave me. Her eyes burned. Did he? Year before he got sick. That was his decision. I know. Don't ask me for the same. I'm not. Good. Rain began tapping against the kitchen window. Leonard? Yes? If that berm fails, who's below it? Long silence. Then, you. By sunrise, Evelyn found Travis Mercer standing in Miller's Cut, alone, soaked through. His truck was parked by the county road. He had crossed onto her property. She approached slowly. You lost? No. You're trespassing. I know. The answer disarmed her more than denial would have. Travis stared down at the old creek bed. Water now moved through it, only a few inches deep, but moving, for the first time in years. Miller Creek, he said. Yes. My father told me it dried naturally. He lied. Travis nodded. He did that. You knew about the diversion. Not until yesterday. I don't believe you. I knew there was an old irrigation bypass, thought it was permitted. That's convenient. Evelyn, I'm not asking you to trust me. Good. I'm asking for time. Time for what? To lower the reservoir. How? Controlled release. Toward here. Yes. Toward the subdivision. We can channel it. In 6 inches of rain? I don't have another option. Yes, you do. Which is? Notify emergency management and evacuate downstream. Travis stared at her. If I do that, the state comes in. Yes. They inspect everything. Yes. They could condemn the reservoir. Yes. Shut down part of the operation. Possibly. He shook his head. You say that like none of it matters. It matters. 119 people depend on the ranch directly. So do 32 families in Collins subdivision depend on not waking up underwater. The lodge project is holding our refinancing together. There it is. What? The real emergency. He stepped closer. You think this is about greed? I think fear makes greed sound respectable. Travis's face hardened. My father nearly lost everything. So did mine. That's not the same. Why? Because 73 acres is less painful to lose than 6,000. That isn't what I meant. It's what your family has acted like for 30 years. Rain ran down both their faces. Travis looked away. My father believed losing the ranch would make him a failure. And what do you believe? He did not answer. Evelyn stepped beside him. Your father diverted water because he was scared. I know. He buried a creek because he was scared. I know. He ignored ground failure because he was scared. Travis clenched his jaw. And now? He stared toward the ranch. My daughter's up there. Doing what? Moving cattle? In this weather? She wouldn't leave. Wonder where she learned that. For a moment, Travis almost smiled. His phone rang. He answered. Evelyn watched the blood drain from his face. What? He turned away. How wide? Then, no machinery. Get everybody back. Evelyn grabbed his sleeve as he ran for the truck. What happened? He looked at her. The trench collapsed. Within 30 minutes, Mercer Ranch's south entrance became an emergency staging area. Doug Haney arrived with sheriff's deputies and the volunteer fire department. Marcus Reed came from Albany. Leonard stood beneath an equipment shed with mud up to his knees. Travis paced. Doug opened a map on the hood of his truck. Start from the beginning. Travis pointed toward the reservoir. Old buried drainage line here. We opened an inspection trench yesterday. It collapsed overnight. Water level? Rising. Spillway? Operating. Marcus shook his head. If internal seepage is happening, the spillway doesn't solve it. Doug looked at him. You're the engineer? Civil. Drainage and small dams. You inspected? Not yet. Doug looked at Travis. Why not? Travis said nothing. Doug folded the map. Take us in. The reservoir was larger than Evelyn remembered. Brown water rolled beneath the wind. The south embankment stretched nearly 900 feet. Halfway along it sat an excavator beside a collapsed trench. Water bubbled from exposed soil. Marcus climbed out of his truck and immediately shouted, Everybody back! Travis frowned. What? Back. Marcus pointed toward the ground. Thin cracks crossed the grass. Not one. Several. Doug ordered everyone behind the access road. Marcus crouched near a stream of water escaping the slope. He touched it, smelled it, looked toward the reservoir. That's reservoir water. Travis crossed his arms. How do you know? Temperature, sediment, pressure. Pick one. We can dig a relief channel. No? We need to lower pressure. Not with excavators on unstable fill. Then what? Pump it down. Too slow. Doug asked the question none of them wanted asked. Failure risk? Marcus looked at the rain, high enough to evacuate downstream. Travis turned. Wait. Doug did not. He grabbed his radio. Sheriff, begin evacuation notification for Miller's Cut, County Road 44, and Collins Subdivision. Doug, this stopped being your decision. Travis stood in the rain as orders spread across the radio. For years, Mercer Ranch had been a place where his word ended discussions. Now the land itself had taken that privilege away. A side-by-side came racing up the road. Clara Mercer drove. Travis snapped. "What are you doing here?" "Checking the heifers." "Go home." "Dad, now." She saw the berm. "What happened?" Evelyn approached. "The dam may fail." Clara's face went pale. "Our south pasture still has 300 head. "Forget the cattle," Travis said. She stared. "The calves?" "Forget them. Dad, I am not losing you for cows." That stopped her. Then Leonard spoke. "There's a crew down by the old cabins." Everyone looked at him. "What crew?" Travis demanded. "Road contractors. They left yesterday. 4 stayed, watching equipment." The old hunting cabin sat below the embankment, between the reservoir and Miller's Cut. Doug swore. "Can we reach them?" Leonard nodded toward the south road. "Low ground's already flooding." "How long?" 10 minutes by side. Marcus looked at the cracks. No truck on the lower road. Clara stepped forward. "I know the ridge trail." Travis turned on her. "No. I can get there." "No." Evelyn pictured an old timber map. A logging road ran east of the cabins, higher elevation, overgrown, but passable. "I know another route." Travis stared at her. "You're not going? You still giving orders?" "This is different." "Yes. 4 people might die." Doug shook his head. "I can't send civilians." "You have anyone who knows that trail?" "No." "Then send your fire captain with me." Doug hesitated. Marcus looked at the berm again. "If they're going, go now." 5 minutes later, Evelyn drove Samuel's F-150 down an old logging track, with volunteer fire captain Aaron Bell beside her and Clara following in a side-by-side. Branches slapped the windshield. Mud pulled at the tires. Aaron grabbed the dash. "You positive this road exists?" "Used to." "That's not reassuring." "You asked if I was positive." They reached a washout. Evelyn stopped. The truck could go no farther. Clara pulled beside them. "We take mine." They loaded rescue rope and medical supplies into the rower side by side. Aaron climbed into the rear. Evelyn squeezed beside him. Clara drove. The trail narrowed. Rain reduced visibility to a few yards. At one drainage crossing, water already covered the path. Clara hesitated. "Too deep?" Evelyn watched the current. "Not yet." "Comforting. Drive." They crossed. Halfway through, the vehicle shifted sideways. Clara corrected. They reached the other side. Aaron radioed Doug. "East drainage increasing." Static answered. Then Doug, "Movement reported on South Berm." Evelyn grabbed the radio. "How much?" Marcus answered. "Surface crack widened 6 inches. Get out of there." "We're close." "Evelyn." 4 men. He swore softly. "Then move east after pickup. Do not return south." "Understood." They reached the cabins. 4 pickup trucks sat outside. One contractor came running. "What the hell are you doing?" Aaron jumped out. "Dam evacuation. Everybody out." The men looked confused. Then they heard it. A low rumbling, not thunder. Something beneath the ground. Evelyn froze. Water. Moving where no one could see it. One man pointed. The grass near the cabin had split. A crack opened. Brown water seeped through. "Move," Evelyn shouted. 2 men jumped into the side-by-side. The others tried starting a pickup. The tires spun. The truck did not move. Aaron ran toward them. "Leave it." A deep boom sounded. 50 yards away, the ground dropped. Not slowly. Violently. A hole opened beneath a line of sweet gum trees. Water exploded upward. Clara screamed. Evelyn grabbed one contractor by the shoulder. "Run!" The earth split wider. Water poured into the opening. A cabin leaned. Its foundation shifted. Then the whole structure slid 3 feet and collapsed. The buried creek had broken free. For nearly 3 decades, Miller Creek had been forced beneath soil and concrete. Now it returned with the stored force of a reservoir behind it. They climbed onto the ridge. Below them, brown water carved through the old channel. Trees bent, fence posts vanished. Metal roofing spun downstream. Clara stared. My God. Evelyn pulled her toward the side-by-side. Later, drive. They returned to the reservoir road 12 minutes later. Travis ran toward his daughter. He grabbed Clara and held her so tightly she could barely move. This time she did not complain. Evelyn watched. Samuel had held her that way after a tornado passed within half a mile of their house. Fear had a way of stripping pride from people. Marcus approached Evelyn. "You okay?" "Yes." "Contractors?" "All 4. "Good. What now?" He pointed toward the newly opened channel. "That collapse may relieve some internal pressure. May. Or it may destabilize more fill." Travis released Clara. Sirens sounded from below. A deputy drove up. "County 44 is overtopping. Culvert's plugged." Evelyn's stomach tightened. Water was moving toward home. By the time she reached Miller's Cut, water covered half the pasture. Calvin was moving equipment toward higher ground. "You finally show up," he shouted. "Animals. Horses are loose. Cows broke through the south fence." "Where?" "Bottomland." Evelyn grabbed a lead rope. Calvin saw. "No. Blue's down there. That horse is 22. He was Samuel's. That does not make drowning optional." Evelyn was already walking. Calvin swore and followed. The bottomland had become a maze of shallow, moving water. They found the 2 horses behind a fallen pecan limb. Blue, Samuel's old gelding, trembled in water nearly to his knees. Evelyn waded toward him. "Easy, old man." Calvin started the chainsaw. He cut through branches. Blue pulled against the rope. Evelyn stroked his neck. "You survived, Sam. You can survive this." A cracking sound came from upstream. Fence posts began snapping. Calvin shouted, "Evelyn!" A surge struck. Evelyn lost her footing. Water swallowed her. For several seconds, there was no direction, only mud. Noise, force. She surfaced downstream, choking. The lead rope was still wrapped around her wrist. Blue fought toward higher ground. The horse pulled. Evelyn grabbed his mane. Calvin reached them. Together, they made the slope. Evelyn collapsed in wet grass. Calvin sat beside her. "You finished?" "No." He laughed once. Then his face broke. He covered his eyes. "I already lost Sam." Evelyn turned. Calvin rarely spoke about his brother. Their grief had always moved in parallel, close but separate. She put an arm around him. "I'm here. For now. For now is all anybody gets." Rain fell around them. Blue nudged Evelyn's shoulder. Calvin wiped his face. That horse got terrible timing. He learned from Samuel. By late afternoon, flood water entered the Collins subdivision. 2 garages took water. Several yards disappeared. Firefighters evacuated the remaining families. Mercer Ranch sent tractors and loaders to clear culverts. Workers who had spent years maintaining the diversion now fought to manage the water after it escaped. Travis drove a loader himself. Evelyn watched him shove a fallen pine away from a bridge. His expensive jacket was gone. So was most of his authority. Mud had reduced everyone to usefulness. Around 5, rainfall weakened. The sky brightened in the west. Reservoir levels dropped slightly. Marcus reported that seepage appeared more stable. Residents asked when they could go home. People began to believe the worst had passed. That belief lasted 17 minutes. Evelyn stood beside a fire truck drinking bottled water when Marcus suddenly turned toward the creek. What? He walked closer. The water level had dropped. Too quickly. Travis came over. That's good, right? Marcus shook his head. No. Why? Flow didn't taper. It stopped. Blocked? Probably. Debris. Or collapse. Doug approached. What happens if the channel plugs? Marcus looked toward the reservoir. Pressure builds somewhere else. A boom sounded in the distance. Every bird lifted from the trees at once. Then another sound followed. A roar. Evelyn turned. Brown water surged through Miller's Cut. Not a giant movie wave, only several feet high, but fast. Dense, carrying trees, fencing, barrels, pieces of metal. The fire truck reversed. People ran uphill. Evelyn saw Calvin near the barn. "Calvin!" he heard. He started running. A floating stock tank struck him from behind. He disappeared. Evelyn lunged downhill. Travis grabbed her around the shoulders. "No! Let go. You can't reach him." "My brother." Calvin surfaced. He caught a fence post. Water tore at his body. Aaron Bell threw a rescue line. Too short. Travis released Evelyn and ran. A loader sat near the barn. He climbed inside. Doug shouted, "Travis!" He ignored him. The machine entered the flood. Water covered half the tires. Travis extended the bucket. "Calvin!" Calvin could not hear. Evelyn ran along the ridge. "Bucket! Grab the bucket!" The fence post snapped. Calvin vanished. Then one hand appeared. He caught the steel lip. Travis raised the bucket slowly. Calvin clung to it. The loader backed out. When it reached dry ground, Evelyn ran toward him. Calvin lay in the bucket coughing mud and water. She grabbed his face. "You alive?" He opened one eye. "Depends who's asking." Evelyn laughed and cried at the same time. Travis climbed down. Calvin looked at him. "You Mercer?" "Yes." "Still an ass." Travis nodded. "I've been told." By midnight, Tropical Storm Iris had moved northeast. The reservoir never suffered a total breach. The buried diversion did. Nearly 3/4 of a mile of old creek channel reopened. 2 homes suffered major flood damage. 9 others took water in garages or crawl spaces. Mercer Ranch lost roads, fencing, machinery, and 32 cattle. No one died. That became the sentence everyone repeated. No one died. It made everything else sound repairable. The state arrived the next morning, then environmental officials, then watershed engineers, then reporters. By afternoon, everyone in Bellwether knew the outline. An unauthorized creek diversion had existed beneath Mercer Ranch for almost 30 years. The story spread beyond the county. Samuel Brooks's photographs became evidence. The cassette recording was copied. Old permits were reopened. Former employees were interviewed. And Evelyn began hearing strangers say her husband's name. Some praised him. Others asked why he had not exposed the diversion sooner. That question hurt because Evelyn had asked it, too. 3 days after the storm, she found Leonard Pike sitting outside Fletcher's Feed and Farm Supply, the same place where Travis had thrown the pennies. Leonard looked older than he had a week earlier. "You here to tell me I'm a coward?" he asked. "No. Wouldn't blame you." Evelyn sat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. Then Leonard handed her a folder. "I found this." Inside was a photocopy of a letter Samuel had sent the county in 2005. Formal complaint, unpermitted hydrologic modification, potential embankment instability, stamped received. Attached was a county response. Complaint administratively closed due to insufficient evidence and lack of access to private property. Evelyn read it twice. Samuel did report it. Yes. Why didn't I know? He asked me not to tell you. She looked at Leonard. Why? Your mama was sick then. Evelyn looked away. Her mother's dementia had been severe by 2005. Evelyn spent evenings helping her father. Samuel had cooked, handled bills, managed the farm, and apparently kept fighting Mercer Ranch alone. He thought protecting me meant deciding what I could handle. Leonard gave a sad smile. Men do stupid things when we call them love. Some men. Fair. Evelyn looked again at the letter. Why did he stop? He didn't. Leonard shook his head. He kept sending pictures, calling people. Warren's lawyers pushed back. County said they needed access. State said it wasn't their jurisdiction unless the reservoir met certain thresholds. And Warren kept saying he'd fix it. He didn't. No. Neither did you. Leonard swallowed. No. Evelyn closed the folder. You said Samuel forgave you. He did. How? Leonard looked toward the road. I asked him that. What did he say? He said forgiveness ain't the same as pretending nothing happened. Evelyn's throat tightened. That sounded exactly like Samuel. Leonard continued. He told me I still had to tell the truth. But you waited. Yes. Until the ground opened. Yes. What happens to you now? Investigators say maybe charges, maybe not. Statute problems. I don't know. Scared? Yes. Evelyn nodded. Good. He looked at her. Good. Means telling the truth costs something. Leonard almost smiled. That sound like Samuel too? Maybe he rubbed off. Leonard's eyes filled. I'm sorry, Evelyn. She stood. Tell them everything. I will. Not the version that makes you look better? No. The whole thing? Yes. That's where you start. The fight over Miller's Cut ended quietly. Travis withdrew his easement claim, then his offer to purchase the 12 acres. The luxury hunting lodge project collapsed within a week. Investors pulled out. Banks reviewed loans. Rumors spread that Mercer Ranch would be sold. For the first time in his life, Travis discovered what it felt like to hear strangers discuss the disappearance of his family's land, as if it were entertainment. Evelyn did not enjoy that. She expected she might. She did not. Travis eventually sold 1,200 acres along the northern boundary. The property had been in his family since the 1970s. The sale reduced debt enough to keep the cattle operation alive and fund emergency repairs. Mercer Ranch became smaller. Dozens of people expected layoffs. Some came. Fewer than feared. The ranch stopped expanding, stopped building, stopped pretending growth was the same thing as security. Evelyn filed a civil claim. Her attorney told her she could ask for more. Emotional damages, punitive damages, devaluation, historic interference, potential groundwater effects. She refused most of it. At mediation, Travis's attorney Benton Shaw stared at her. "I want to be certain I understand. You're not pursuing the maximum available damages?" "No." "Why?" "I don't want his ranch." "What do you want?" Evelyn looked across the table at Travis. "My creek back." Restoration took almost a year to design. Engineers quickly discovered the water could not simply be returned to its 1998 route. The watershed had changed. Roads had been built, homes constructed, fields graded, drainage systems altered. Returning the creek carelessly could cause new flooding. So Marcus and the state team proposed something broader: a reconstructed channel, wetland overflow areas, reinforced crossings, new spillways, a monitored reservoir, protected buffers along Miller's Cut, and redesigned cattle watering systems on Mercer Ranch that no longer depended on stolen flow. The project cost more than anyone wanted. Mercer Ranch paid part. Insurance contributed. State and federal watershed programs covered another portion. A gap remained. Bellwether filled some of it. Not with money alone, labor, equipment, meals, church collections. A local grading company donated weekends. High school agriculture students planted native grasses. A nearby college sent environmental science students. Darla's Diner donated an entire Saturday's profits. Calvin said, "That woman finally found a legal use for her cooking." Darla heard him. "Your next breakfast costs triple." "Worth it." "You haven't tasted it." "Exactly." By fall, water moved through Miller's Cut again, not violently, not hidden. A narrow, clear stream ran beneath young grasses. For the first time in years, Evelyn heard frogs near the creek after dark. She built nothing beside it. Calvin did. A bench from a storm-fallen pecan tree. "I didn't ask for a bench." "You're welcome." "It leans." "So do you." Evelyn sat there anyway. Sometimes Samuel felt close. Not supernatural, not like a voice. More like evidence. A habit she had learned from him. A phrase Calvin repeated. A burn mark in a truck. A photograph behind a wall. A refusal to let something wrong become normal simply because it had lasted a long time. Clara Mercer came one October afternoon. She carried a folder. Peace offering. Evelyn looked at it. "If that contains pennies, go home." Clara laughed. "It doesn't." Inside was a conservation easement proposal. Mercer Ranch would protect its side of the restored creek permanently. No future construction inside the buffer. No diversion. No private impoundment. Independent inspection rights. Downstream notification requirements. Evelyn read it. "Your father agreed." "He wrote most of it." "Where is he?" "In the truck." "Why?" "He thinks you hate him." "I don't." "I told him." "What did he say?" "That might be worse." Evelyn smiled. "Tell him to come up." Travis approached slowly. Same work boots, same ranch shirt, but something had changed in the way he carried himself. Power had once entered rooms ahead of him. Now he seemed to check whether there was space first. "Evelyn." "Travis." Clara handed him the folder. He held it awkwardly. "The easement includes public monitoring?" "I saw." "And restrictions on the reservoir?" "I saw." "And I can read." "Right." He looked toward Miller Creek. "My father would hate this." "Good sign." Travis laughed quietly. "Probably." They walked beside the water. After a moment, he said, "I found something in his office." "What?" "A letter." He handed her a photocopy. Samuel's handwriting. Evelyn stopped. "Warren, I know why you did it. I know what debt makes a man afraid of losing, but you cannot save your family by making another family pay the cost without their knowledge. The creek was here before either of us, and it will be here after. Fix what you changed while you still have the choice. Samuel Evelyn read it twice. He kept this? Behind a cabinet. Did he answer? Not that I found. Travis stared at the water. I spent my whole life believing my father saved our ranch. He probably did. Travis looked at her. By stealing water. Yes. That sounds like a contradiction. It isn't? How? People save one thing and hurt another every day. She handed the letter back. Your father may have saved the ranch in 1998. That doesn't erase what he did to do it. Travis nodded. I thought losing the lodge project would ruin us. And? It didn't. No. We're smaller. Yes. Harder. Yes. But not gone. No. He looked at the creek. Some of what we were doing needed to stop. Evelyn said nothing. That was as close to understanding as she needed him to get. Then Travis said, I owe you an apology. You've apologized. Not right. She waited. He looked uncomfortable. That was good. Real apologies should. What I did at Fletcher's wasn't just rude. I wanted to embarrass you because you wouldn't give me what I wanted. Evelyn watched him. I treated your land like it mattered less because you had less of it. I treated you like my offer made me generous and your refusal made you unreasonable. Yes. He almost smiled. You're not making this easy. It's not for me. No. He breathed out. I was wrong. Yes. Silence. Then Evelyn nodded. Now that was an apology. Travis reached into his pocket. Her eyebrow rose. He laughed. No pennies. Good. He pulled out a smooth gray stone. What's that? From the buried channel. He handed it to her. Found during excavation. Evelyn turned the stone in her palm. Why give it to me? Because you were right. About? Water remembers where it belongs. Evelyn looked toward Miller Creek. Sometimes people do too. The official investigations stretched through winter. The county admitted serious procedural failures. 2 retired officials had mishandled the original complaint process, though time and incomplete evidence prevented prosecution. Mercer Ranch paid environmental penalties and entered a long-term compliance agreement. Leonard Pike cooperated fully. Prosecutors ultimately declined major charges against him, partly because of the age of the original conduct, and because his testimony proved essential. Some people in Bellwether called that justice. Others called it cowardice rewarded. Evelyn called it imperfect. Most justice was. Real life rarely delivered. Punishment in satisfying proportions. What mattered was whether truth changed anything. This truth did. The county established new watershed reviews. Old agricultural drainage permits were audited. Downstream property owners gained notification protections. And Miller Creek returned to official maps. Not as drainage corridor 18 to C. Not as agricultural conveyance. Miller Creek. By February, the county commission asked Evelyn to join the Watershed Advisory Board. She declined. Calvin called her scared, so she accepted. You manipulate me too easily. I'm charming. You resemble a broken gate. Useful and handsome. In emergencies. Spring arrived early. Dogwoods bloomed along the fence rows. New grass covered the repaired soil. The creek stayed clear. Clara redesigned Mercer Ranch grazing patterns to keep cattle away from sensitive banks. Travis reduced herd size slightly. More rotation, less pressure, fewer shortcuts. Nothing glamorous, nothing that would attract Atlanta investors. But healthier. Evelyn noticed something else. Travis was working more, actually working, fence repair, equipment checks, cattle rotations. He still owned thousands of acres, still had money, still had employees. But the ranch no longer seemed like proof of his worth. At least, not every day. Some things survived by growing. Others survived by understanding what they could no longer carry. In April, an Atlanta developer offered Evelyn $600,000 for Miller's Cut and 30 neighboring acres. The restored creek made the property attractive for a private conservation development. Evelyn listened, then refused. Calvin nearly spilled his coffee. 600,000? Yes. And you said no? Yes. You need medical evaluation? No. Samuel would haunt you. He'd understand. He'd flick the lights at least. Evelyn smiled. He knew what this place meant. Calvin looked toward the creek. Land doesn't love you back. No. Can't hug you? No. Can't come visit in the hospital? No. So why keep it? Evelyn thought before answering. Because selling isn't the only way something becomes valuable. Calvin stared. That sounded like church. Don't tell Reverend Amos. He'll steal it. He calls that preaching. The first anniversary of Tropical Storm Iris came during another week of heavy rain. People watched the reservoir nervously. Sensors had been installed. The embankment had been rebuilt. Emergency spillways widened. The buried pipe was gone. Miller Creek rose, then spread naturally into the restored wetlands. Water covered grass designed to flood. It slowed, settled, then receded, exactly as Marcus predicted. Evelyn stood beneath an umbrella watching the creek. Travis drove up on County Road 44. He did not enter, just stopped. Raised one hand. Evelyn raised hers. Enough. Later that afternoon, the county held a small gathering at the new pedestrian bridge over Miller Creek. Evelyn had argued against a plaque. She lost. The bronze marker recognized the restoration effort after Tropical Storm Iris. Names appeared beneath. Emergency responders, engineers, local volunteers, landowners, and one man who had died years before anyone finally listened. Samuel Brooks. For persistence in documenting the historic flow of Miller Creek and protecting the downstream community. Evelyn stared at the words. Calvin stood beside her. You crying? No. You are. Rain. Sun's out. Localized rain. He put an arm around her. Darla passed out lemonade. Children dropped sticks into the creek and raced across the bridge to see which one appeared first. Clara stood beside her father. Leonard Pike stayed at the edge of the group. Evelyn saw him. After most people left, she walked over. You planning to hide behind that tree all afternoon? Leonard smiled faintly. Didn't know if I was invited. It's a creek, Leonard. Water doesn't check invitations. He looked at Samuel's plaque. He'd like that. He'd complain the lettering was crooked. Leonard laughed. Yes. Then his expression changed. I'm leaving Bellwether. Where? North Carolina. My daughter wants me near the grandkids. Good. I wanted you to know. Thank you. He hesitated. Evelyn? Yes? I'm sorry. She had heard him apologize before. Explanations usually followed. This time nothing did. No defense, no justification, no request, just the words. She nodded. I know. Leonard looked almost disappointed. That's all? That's all. He breathed out, then smiled. Samuel married above himself. Several floors. They hugged briefly. Not friendship restored, not erasure. Something quieter. Peace did not always mean bringing someone back into your life. Sometimes it meant no longer carrying them angrily through it. That evening, Evelyn sat alone on Calvin's crooked bench. Blue grazed nearby. Older, slower, still stubborn. She held Samuel's original letter to Warren Mercer. Travis had eventually given it to her. She had read it many times, but fading sunlight revealed pencil writing near the bottom, almost erased. A sentence she had missed. She tilted the page. If you wait until doing right costs nothing, you'll wait forever. Evelyn smiled. Always had to get the last word. Frogs called from the wetland. For years, she believed Samuel left her 73 acres, a battered truck, one impossible horse, old tools, unpaid questions, and grief. Now she understood he had also left trust. Unfinished work was not always a burden. Sometimes it was evidence that someone believed you would recognize what mattered when your moment came. The Pennies became a story around Bellwether. Like all small-town stories, it improved every time somebody told it badly. One version said Travis threw a whole jar. Another said Evelyn shut off a valve that same afternoon and dried Mercer Ranch overnight. Somebody claimed she secretly owned the reservoir. Another swore federal agents were waiting outside Fletcher's when Travis insulted her. None of it happened. The truth was slower, messier, more human. Evelyn did not destroy Travis Mercer. She did not take his ranch. She did not reveal some magical deed proving she secretly owned everything. She simply refused to let a richer man decide what her land was worth. Then she followed the question hiding beneath his urgency, even when it complicated Samuel's memory. Even when Leonard's cowardice turned out to be tied to the desperate love of a father with a sick son. Even when Travis proved capable of risking himself to save Calvin. Even when justice arrived incomplete. Even when forgiveness had to exist without forgetting. Water had taught them something. It moved toward openings. So did fear. So did greed. So did truth. The question was what people built around them. Walls, channels, bridges, or lies. The following summer, Evelyn returned to Fletcher's Feed and Farm Supply. Nobody went silent when she entered anymore. Bellwether had moved on to newer scandals. A school board dispute, a pastor's runaway goat, someone's son marrying someone's ex-wife. Evelyn bought horse feed, mineral salt, fence staples, and a replacement shovel handle. The teenage cashier counted her change. $3, 2 quarters, a dime, and 1 penny. The boy placed it carefully in her palm, then froze. Evelyn looked at him. What? He glanced at the penny. Nothing? You afraid of coins now? His face turned red. The farmer behind her laughed. Evelyn picked up the penny. Outside, Travis Mercer was loading mineral blocks into his truck. He saw her coming. She held up the coin. Need this? He looked at it, then shook his head quickly. Absolutely not. Evelyn laughed. Thought so. Travis closed his tailgate. How's Blue? Mean. So healthy. 4 blue. He nodded toward Miller's Cut. Creek running. Clear. Reservoir's 4 inches lower than last week. Sounds like your problem. Yes, ma'am. They stood beneath a bright Georgia sky. Thunderheads formed far to the south. Ordinary summer weather. Nothing threatening, not yet. Travis looked toward the road. You ever think about selling? Every time somebody asks. And then I remember how annoying buyers are. He smiled. Fair. Evelyn opened Samuel's truck, The driver's window still rattled. She had replaced the tires, fixed the air conditioner, rebuilt part of the transmission. But not that window, and not the crescent burn inside the cup holder. Some repairs felt necessary. Others would erase too much. She placed the penny beside the burn mark, not because she wanted to remember Travis humiliating her. That moment no longer had enough power to deserve its own monument. She kept it because value had become strange to her. A penny was almost nothing. 12 muddy acres had once been called worthless. A forgotten creek had been buried because one powerful man decided downstream people mattered less than saving his own land. A dead husband's photographs sat behind a wall for years. An old ranch hand carried a truth until fear nearly made it useless. A woman in a feed store had been expected to accept whatever price somebody richer assigned her. None of those things looked powerful at first. But value had never depended on appearance. Neither had dignity. Evelyn started the engine. Travis raised one hand. She returned the gesture, then drove east, past cattle pasture, past pecan groves, past the section of County Road 44 where flood water once carried fencing across the asphalt. When she reached Miller's Cut, she slowed. Sunlight flashed between the trees. The restored creek moved beneath them. Not Travis Mercer's water, not Evelyn Brooks' water, just Miller Creek, going where gravity, history, and truth had always meant for it to go. Evelyn smiled and pressed the accelerator. Some things did not need revenge. They only needed the truth to find its way home.